Good morning. I'm having to be a little bit quiet this morning. It's just gone 7:30 and I'm recording Friday's assembly from my garden. So today, when you're watching this assembly, is Earth Day. And we talked about how important Earth Day is, how it's been going on since 1970. We talked about how important it is that everybody around the world has to think about how they can save the planet, how they can help the environment. And what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to read you a short poem, because poems are just really cool. We love reading a poem. And then I've got a picture book as well that I'm going to share with you. But I thought what I'd do is I would share with you some of the things that I've done to help the environment, so you can see what I'm doing. Like I say, it's quite early in the morning and I've got neighbours who maybe haven't got up yet, so I'm going to have to be a little bit quiet when I say it. So you can see around my garden that I've got these flower beds that have been planted, and they've been planted with things ready for butterflies and bees to enjoy in the garden. Like we said in the assembly yesterday, bees, butterflies are pollinators. They spread pollen, and because of the bees and butterflies, that we've got such a big range of plants in the world. But the more meat that we eat, the more methane is created, and the more the animals that we're eating rely on other plants, on all sorts of infrastructure. So if everybody can have a vegetarian meal once a week, there's less reliance on the planet. Also, if you think about the amount of oxygen that these plants produce, we've got really nice, easy ways to help our environment, help the planet. So I've got my let's do this a different way. I've got my little lavender hedge coming along here, and all of these lavender flowers are going to be buzzing with bees throughout the summer. I've got my pond. I need to get some of that green algae off the top of the pond, but I'm going to have birds coming and sitting on the stones at the edge of the pond having a drink. You can see the water lily in the middle of the pond there, and that's a bit of cover for the insects that are living in the garden. Now I bet that some of you have got a bird feeding station. Now the bird feeding station in my garden, I think I need to put some more of these fatty balls in there. I need to top that up with water. But I've got birds that come to that every day, and sometimes I don't see the birds because they're just having a wander around. Now what I've got is my lawn here, and if the bird lands on the lawn, then everybody can see it. So the birds get a bit scared, they don't like doing that. So this half of the garden I've left the lawn, and I don't mow that. So you can see we've got these big bits of grass that are coming up here, and the birds will have a wander around there, and they will be able to hide in there, and they feel much more comfortable, which means that they can get the insects from the earth, the food that they need, so they're not always at my bird feeding station. Okay, couple of other bits. Now you can see this is a nice small plant at the moment. It's called a ceanothus, but it's got those beautiful blue flowers, and that's going to get bigger and bigger, but the flowers attract the insects. So I'm planting things that will attract wildlife to my garden. Okay, couple more bits. Now, this is a flower bed that's kind of relatively new. We've got a buddleia here, and buddleia is sometimes called a butterfly bush because butterflies love to come and get the nectar from the buddleia flowers. Really, really easy one to plant. I planted these about 3-4 weeks ago now. Sunflowers, and these sunflowers will be taller than me, taller than Mr. Babington. Okay, now can you see there? It looks like there's a gap at the bottom of my fence, sorry. A gap at the bottom of my fence. I wonder if you can guess what that gap is for. Can you have a guess? That gap is for hedgehogs. So if I go to the other side of my garden, so the hedgehog could come through there, walk along the back of the garden, and then on the other side there is another little hole cut into the fence. Now these are called wildlife corridors, and gardens are wildlife corridors, so animals will move through the garden, and if you have fences up they can't get through. So what people do is put holes in the fences so the wildlife can go through it. Okay, now final thing I'm going to show you in my garden. This is a really nice easy one. Big bare bit of earth, and can you see all the green stuff there? Well, these are Phacelia seeds. So a packet of seeds cost me £1.50, and these plants will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they will flower, and they will attract loads and loads of insects. And then when they're finished flowering, I can just dig them into the soil, and it makes the soil better quality. It improves the quality of the soil, so the plants growing in there, like these daffodils which have died now, will grow even more strongly. So seeds are a really quick, easy way. So like I've sown those sunflowers, like I've sown the Phacelia, and I'm even trying to reuse plastics so that we've not got single-use plastics. That's my plant label. Okay, can you see what it is? So I've recycled my COVID test, my LFD test, and I'm using that as a plant label. Okay, lots of different ways to help the earth. So hopefully we can see, and where are we? Now this is another buddleia, and I'm just trying to work out, there he is, can you see? I've got my little ladybird sitting on the leaf. Now ladybirds are pretty awesome, and what ladybirds do is they farm greenfly. So sometimes you get greenfly all over a plant, and wherever you get that greenfly, you'll get ladybirds nearby, because they eat the sap that the greenfly produce. So they're really, really beneficial. You always get the two things living together. Now the seeds that I showed you earlier, the Phacelia seeds there, okay, I sowed some of these last year, and they grew over the winter, and that's what that plant is going to grow into. Nice big bushy things hanging over the edge of the bed, and there's some of the Phacelia seeds as well. I sowed some over here, and you can see the flowers, and they're really good for the wildlife. It's a really, really cheap and easy idea, and it means that I don't have to weed the garden, and it means that it looks really pretty. So there you go guys, quick tour around my garden with some of the things that I've done to help the environment. Okay, so I want to see you around school today thinking about the things that you're doing to help the environment, thinking about your environmental science, environmental art. What are you doing for Earth Day? Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop recording this. I'm going to go to school, and then I'm going to record the story that we've got for the second half of the assembly. Have a lovely day. Well, don't need to have a lovely day, because I'll see you in like 5 seconds with the next bit of the assembly. I just remembered, switched the video off, and then thought, oh, I actually forgot to read them the poem that I said I was going to read when I started all of this. So this is a poem by Roger McGough from a poetry anthology called All the Best, and it's called Give and Take. Mrs. Miller sent me this poem because she found it and thought it would be really, really useful for Earth Day. Okay, and poetry is something that we haven't used in assemblies very often, but I love a good poem. It's so good to read poetry because it's just something different. I give you clean air, you give me poisonous gas. I give you mountains, you give me quarries. I give you pure snow, you give me acid rain. I give you spring fountains, you give me toxic canals. I give you a butterfly, you gave me a plastic bottle. I give you a blackbird, you gave me a stealth bomber. I give you abundance, you give me waste. I give you one last chance, you give me excuse after excuse. There we go, guys. It's a poem written from the point of view of the planet. And the planet is saying that the planet has given us all of these things, all of these wonderful things, and we've not looked after it. We've given it plastic bottles and quarries. We've given it pollution. So it's about what we can do to help the planet to give something back. Right, I love that poem. It's a really nice one. So thank you, Mrs. Miller. It's a really nice one to enjoy.